Thank you all for being here and for joining us on this webinar, Cross-Border Expansion in Regulated Industries, focusing on risks and strategies. I'm Josh Radbod. I'm a partner at Cogent Law, and I have with me Rubio Teixeira, who's the founder and CEO of Octus Consulting. I guess we'll do quick introductions, and then we will jump into the webinar. Um, Rubio, I'll go ahead and start us off here. So again, I'm Josh Radbod. I'm a partner at Cogent Law. I lead the firm's fintech, crypto, and banking practice. Outside of being a partner at Cogent, I am co-founder and CEO of the PBC conference, which is the B2B conference for payments, banking, and compliance in the cannabis industry. I'm also co-founder and CEO of the CBC Summit, Crypto Banking and Compliance Summit, which is based in Washington, D.C., excuse me, and London, UK. A little bit of background about Cogent. Cogent actually started all the way back in 2014. We were one of the pioneering law firms that got into the fintech, crypto, and banking space. Fast forward to now, we've been working on all different types of projects, money transmitters, fintechs in the space. Some of our clients include some of the largest exchanges in the world, over-the-counter trading desks, non-custodial wallets, international remittance companies, high-risk industries, and much, much more. We have a very large focus on regulatory compliance and corporate law. Many of our clients start out with us from a regulatory compliance perspective and then evolve into a corporate perspective, everything from M&A transactions to taking companies public. Thank you so much, and I'll pass it to Rubio for his introduction.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you so much for inviting me to join this webinar and discuss a little bit about our business and everything. First of all, everyone, thank you so much for receiving me here. I'm Rubio. I'm a lawyer also in Brazil and Portugal, and I starting Octus in 2019 by myself. Nowadays, we are like one of the biggest, like how can I say, not even a law firm, but a consultants one in Brazil and Latin America for expansion for high risk business as one of our core businesses is gaming. So we are providing services worldwide. We have like bases even in Europe and here in Latin America. So we are expertise to expand our clients' business, starting everything from the scratch and helping Brazilians ones that wants to internationalize their operations and they have like some boundaries of everything. So that's nice. I don't have like too many companies as Joshua. Thank you so much. I'm impressed, my friend, also to be part of some huge community and everything. So let's start it.
Rubio, thank you so much. Rubio is being modest. Not just are you a lawyer, but your firm also does tax work, if I'm not mistaken, consulting services. You do a lot more than just law. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
We are like covering 360 degrees like for our clients. If we cannot provide the services inside, we will definitely find like the best solution and best partner to reach and to provide such services because sometimes for the jurisdictions, I'm not able to cover it all. So I need to have like local partners and everything and introduce them to my clients and partners. One of the other things that we are doing instead of law and even like to provide the accounting and tax advice. We are doing everything for our clients. We're taking their hand and show them what do you want to do? If you want to do something, we can try to find a solution. If I don't have like the solution inside, one of my partners will have, or if not, I give me 48 hours and I will solve your issue. Because sometimes there is a lot of compliance and structure stuff that's blocking the client's operations, and we need to do that, and we need to improve. Sometimes I'm saying to my clients, Joshua, nowadays, I'm not a common lawyer like that go to court and those type of stuff. Like we are a businessman. We make like things happen for our clients and try to find the best fit for them. And I guess you are in the same path nowadays. We can starting like everything, but now we are like uh, making the lead for the clients, for the firm, for everything. Thank you so
That's
much
a,
once again to taking me to also express myself more, because it's hard to say, because sometimes people asking for me, Rubio, what is Octus do? Because it's difficult for people to understand like 360 degrees consulting. But yes, more or less is the same. I always try to work in the big four, like consultings as KPMG, Ernest Young, Deloitte, and they never like allowed me. So I did my own for myself. So and I starting to entering like high risk business, because even sometimes when the ground is not so regulated, and we can have like some path to work for it, and they are not willing to have like a step on this type of industry, let's say gray. And I start in such way, in such gap as say that, and you make some improvements. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I highlighted that it's not just law that you guys cover because that's a big deal. You know, we're a law firm. We have partners that do other services, but the fact that you guys can do law and more in Brazil, and it sounds like Portugal as well, is phenomenal. So thank you, Rubio. Um, so next, I'd like to really start with just by making a statement. Who is this webinar for? Um, so this webinar is, like the title says, cross-border expansion in regulated industries. So from our perspective, this is clients that are looking to expand outside of the US, potentially looking at Brazil or Europe or Asia, Canada, other jurisdictions outside of the US. And from Hubio's perspective, that's clients potentially in, Latin America, South America, Brazil, or Europe that are looking to expand into the United States. So I think, both of us can talk about those perspectives, right? And how we advise clients when they come to us and they're like, hey, uh, we're doing great in the US. I want to open up operations in Brazil. What are some of the risks and concerns there, and vice versa for when Hubio has a client that says, hey, I want to start doing crypto trading in the US or whatever the case may be. Josh, how does that work, right? Um, so yeah, that's what this webinar is for. Hubio, how should we start? Do you have
And it's totally different. I can we starting to say like the difference between like our countries, and how the challenge is that to pass through, because as United States it's by state, so it's, I don't know, it's a lot of work for you. For me it's like it's tricky, it's tropicalized but it's centralized.
Yes, very, very good point. And I guess I'll start this one. So, hypothetically speaking, let's say Hubio calls me, he says, hey, we have a client that wants to expand into the US. What are the next steps, right? And a lot of the clients that we work with are, money service business, money transmitters, companies that either convert one form of currency into another, whether that's crypto to fiat or fiat to crypto, what have you, or are moving funds from one place to another. And the regulatory regime, which Rubio just mentioned, we have a federal regime here in the United States, but then we also have a state by state regime, right? So, specifically as it relates to money transmission, if a company wants to get set up here in the US, we usually tell them, hey, first we need to form an entity in the US. And then we figure out, okay, where should we form it? What type of company should it be, et cetera? And then how are we going to be regulated? Is it just, do we just need a federal license, a federal money service business license, or do we need a state by state money transmission license? And it makes a lot of work for me, and I do pretty well in this space. It's definitely my niche personally as a lawyer, but I do many other things. But money transmission is definitely a focus of mine. And it became a focus because every single state has a different money transmission act, right? And depending on the types of services that the client is providing, the client may or may not need a license in a specific state. And some states now in the US have both a fiat money transmission license, and then they have a separate crypto license, which at a high level pretty much says if you're doing anything with crypto, custodying, exchanging, transferring, you need a separate license for that. We call it the BIT license in New York. California has created their own license called the DFAL, and Louisiana also has their own BIT license. So, depending on the services that the client is providing, you could be looking at a federal license, let's say the FINSA and MSB registration, and potentially 54 other licenses, which obviously can cost a exorbitant amount of money, not just to secure the license through our firm. We do all the work, soup to nuts, but also all the expenses, registering with the state, getting your surety bond, Secretary of State filings, the filing itself for the license, and then renewal fees are a whole nother bucket that the states make money on. But that's a long way of saying 50 different states, 50 different rules. It's great for lawyers. It's not great for companies.
But let me amend here because we are like handle with technology. And nowadays, every company that owns their own technology and they are selling online, it's a requirement. So it's a bunch of opportunities. And you need to know like the best ones for each type of product or services that you are selling and everything. So it's a huge amount of services. I can't imagine like how it's for me like in Brazil, like we are a huge country. I will give my perspective also about like the payment methods and everything, but just to have a perspective for me to go abroad and to try to expand myself and Octus or worldwide, it's easier because I already know like the regulation here in my country, but you need to know like 54 regulation. It's like you need to focusing on inside also. So to our client to be like the big enough to go abroad, like it's a lot of service, Joshua. Like for me, it's crazy. But let's say about Brazil. If you can compare like Brazil to United States, we have like states here also, but they don't have like too much power as United States because our power here is centralized by federal. So some requirements, even like let's say that for payment methods for crypto nowadays, they are regulated on federal instance and they are regulated by our central bank that's called BACEN. Uh, Crypto, it's one way. We are still developing everything, so it's still like a tricky way. Now with your tax reform, like the things is getting a little bit more expensive because the tax rate will increase more, and we are having like a regime like pretty similar than VAT, for example, for you to know. But it's getting like everyone doesn't know how to move forward because the conditions nowadays are not about the regulation. We don't have like a law. We have like a minor decree from the central bank that it's getting expanding and going. So we don't know. We don't have like how can I say something clear to say to our clients. No, now their rules are that. Maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow, if they change their mind, we can move for another way. So this is giving like uncertainty for people to want to stay in Brazil, to improve, to move forward and like to invest also here. But for crypto, it's like getting think amazing and big and like for free market and everything. So we need to be aware about everything now. Even our population here, they doesn't know properly what is crypto is. I guess like United States a little bit more, the community is more aware about it. But here in Brazil, no. And for the another perspective for payment methods, now we are trying to have more regulation on the payment methods because uh, payment method is considering like a fintech. So if you have like a BaaS, like a bank as a service with some payment method that are plugged in or payment arrangement with our central bank, you can provide services. So it was like an easier stuff to do here in Brazil, and there is like a lot of if even problems because the gap of control about like our central bank and everything because any company that you can open it can start like to processing and doing like payment methods, but nowadays we are like moving forward of also to have like control about it. So and those two controls are like control of our federal instance, let's say Brasilia, our capital. But it's totally different. Like we have a lot of work, as you can say, because sometimes the rules change, as I'm saying, Joshua. But for the client that wants to approach Brazil, the first thing that they need to know is to tropicalize their like entire business because it's mandatory more or less. People here in Brazil they don't speak like a second language. Everyone here like speak Portuguese. So and we are already like auto-sufficient as the United States, but this is getting like crazy for Engans came here, and also we have like a certainty of like pretty control. So if you want to have a, like a base here and everything, I can try to make your visa and like bring you to Brazil, but you need some locally to represent you through like the government and the other stuff like that. It's good also for me to say like for people that wants to invest in Brazil from abroad, there is some type of industries here that people that are taking care about your business needs to be like a local or a Brazilian. So we have like a pretty try to control the market also for something industries. This is sometimes can block some certain of investments also. Okay, but not crypto and not like payment methods. If you're willing to come here, you're more than welcome.
So this is really good to know. And Julio, thank you for that explanation. So would you just to summarize then, so it's centralized, mostly federal law. States have some control, but it's really not anywhere close to how the federal government controls. And so would you say I know it's more difficult, excuse me, the US is more difficult from what I'm gonna say in a minute, but would you say that it's a bit easier in Brazil to, hey, let's say you're an international remittance company that wants to get set up down there. Like, does licensing take forever like it does in the US, or can you get this license fairly quickly? Is it strenuous? Is it difficult? Is it expensive? Can you share a little bit about that part of the process?
This thing it's like depends of your like how do you want to enter the market. We can do like the procedure from the scratch, and it's okay. It doesn't take like a long time, but let's say 6 months is not a long time
Right,
for a
right, right, right.
remittance. Am I
Yeah,
right? Yeah, it's
yeah,
okay. Because for you, I
yes.
guess it's years to work through those type of process, like 54, like not compare. But if your people are looking to enter in the Brazilian market, it's easy. There is like some shortcuts. Through M&As like it's the best one here also. And there is like some also licensing that they are able like for buying. So let's when we are putting that on like dollar and euro perspective is not like too expensive. We can call like you can try to just for you to have like a perspective to buy like a license for a payment method or even like a bank, it will be like 2-3 millions of the dollars
Okay.
approximately. Okay.
And that would give you access to all of Brazil, right?
Depends. We have a like type of license. So
Okay.
you can be like a multiple bank that you're doing like FX and everything, or you're just like providing peaks. You know, peaks like it's getting huge,
Yes,
like your
yes.
own system. So if you want to be like this part of peaks, will be easier sometimes. Or depends. We can schedule like also uh, a webinar, like just to say, like to compare like the model and everything, and I can getting deepening in for giving like a more brief perspective of the types of like payment solutions here in Brazil, the type of the banks and everything, and even to try to say more about crypto.
That I think could be a really good follow-up to this webinar for sure. And just speaking high level, I think you said it's like 6 months to get the license if you went the license, file the application route. Here, to get the federal license is really quick. It's really just a registration. It can take 3 business days or it could take up to 2 weeks. I've never seen it take longer than 2 weeks. But the state licensing, that can take a significant amount of time. For example, in New York, we're representing several clients that are going after the money transmitter license there and the bit license there. We've been going for, I think we're going to hit the 2 year mark here soon. And I think we will get the licenses, but New York is one of these states that just asks a ton of questions. They really
That
dive
will be my
in.
question for you. Like
Yeah.
it's the compliance stuff, like it's big, it's huge. They are requiring a lot of like documents and provide like evidence, or do you think they are like too many applications and they cannot handle the queue?
I don't think it's too many applications. I think in New York's case specifically, I don't think it's too many
Okay.
applications. I think they just deep dive into the business plan and flow of funds and security, insurance, um, financial projections of the company, making sure that the company can handle, um, the flow that's going to occur once they enter New York and they cover their expenses. Are they going to be able to survive the next 1, 2, 3 years in order to run their business and, of course, pay New York's annual renewal fee, which is not written down anywhere, but has been told to us by the regulators to be roughly $375,000 a year, which is about 300x more than any other state. So New York's case is they're an island. They're an outlier. The other states really are not that difficult. Um, but New York's case specifically, so it could take up to 2 years. It's expensive.
Can I
Um,
go deep inside? Sorry, but
yeah, yeah,
if I
yeah.
putting you like in a good bad condition, just let me know. Do you think it's about like politicians and every type of stuff? Like if they are trying to be like different from the other states there?
I don't I would say I don't think so. I believe that they're trying to be as educated as they can when it comes to understanding the businesses that operate in New York. There's definitely other, arguments you could make other than the one I'm stating right now, but I'm Switzerland. So, I don't want to take a side here, but from my conversation, I can tell you truthfully, from my conversations with them, they're very educated on the business models that are applying for licenses in their states. I would say as educated or more than any other state that we work with out of all other 50 states. So, um, my understanding is they spend a lot of time understanding the business to make sure that they can survive and operate in New York. Now, the way that they structure their fees is a whole nother conversation. $375,000 as an annual fee is ridiculously high. Um, but you get access to potentially a lot more customers in New York than you would in other states. But does it equal out? Does it make sense? I don't think so. But New York has specific reasons for why they do it that way. But from the lawyer slash outside perspective, it's too high from my
Mm.
position.
Okay, and do you know like in an average, how can I say the numbers of like the license they have like issued nowadays? Because these also can try to, how can I say, protect the market and allow like people in big techs and like fintechs to using the already an existing license.
Excellent question. It in New York, I believe the bit license there's less than 25, if I'm not mistaken. Which, you
For
know, to your
for
point.
the amount like they're big and a representative state in US, so it's a few ones.
Yeah. And I think California will probably follow a similar path. Their law just got passed on July 1st, and license applications were due starting July 1st. So I think a similar setup is going to happen in California. Can't say for sure. We don't know yet. Time will tell.
Of course.
Um, but yeah, that's one interesting piece about money transmission and payments companies in the US is this New York regulatory structure and fee
And
structure.
those states they are allowed like kind of sublicense or not.
Great question. So I think when you say sublicense, you mean can another company utilize the license of a partner that already has one? Yes, that's what you're asking.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, perfect. So the answer to that is yes. The only key, or not only key piece, but one of the key pieces from a regulatory perspective is that the entire regulated portion of the flow of funds needs to run through the regulated entity. So, like, let's say Coinbase, for example. If there's a partner that wants to work with Coinbase in New York, the entire regulated flow from, for example, a customer saying I want to buy $100 of BTC, that $100 needs to flow through Coinbase, and the crypto coming out of Coinbase either needs to come from Coinbase or another regulated entity that Coinbase works with. So, so the answer is yes, but it needs to follow this structure.
okay. That's good. Also, this can facilitate like the market and the market entry for like another companies that willing to have like those type of license because online as we saying like everyone needs to have online payment, so it's mandatory.
Yep, 100%.
Okay.
So, Rubio, tell me, tell me more about some of the clients that you're working with that want to get set up in the US. What types of industries are they in? What are the things that they're looking for? I mean, I'm sure it's, US customers and whatnot, but maybe it's something else or more than that. Can you share a little bit about that?
As I told you, like my core business, I starting like Octus, like providing services for iGaming industry. So betting nowadays, and
Yep.
we can have like another webinar just to say about this type of marketing that's it's huge, like and it's getting huge, like even in Brazil because in Brazil like we are like the second year of regulation, and in United States nowadays like we have like a pretty big and amazing uh, market. And my clients that asking me nowadays, they are ones to targeting United States for sweepstakes and social casinos. That will be like the gap of legislation that we can say like the gray zone. And this depends on the state's license for each state. And like this is a huge opportunity nowadays also. There is some tricky points that we already shared that sometimes they need to be like a partner, some local casino provider or something like that. But my clients that really wants to target in USA, but they are afraid also sometimes to target in USA because there is if you don't doesn't know how to do business there, like it's a bunch of regulations, the compliance and everything needs to be like thing smoothly to not have any type of issues with US and government. So we always like taking care about our clients that willing to target in the United States to go like through like a really good and big firm as Cogent to like provide services in our states and cover and protect the client. Because as the most important thing also here is to find like the good partner to introduce to your client. This is like it's really a shortcut. This is make business growing and easier, like faster. But tell me more. Like, it's not your core business. I know about sweepstakes and like social casinos nowadays. But you have like some information for us, Joshua. Please.
Of course, yeah. So we've looked at this for a few clients, and we actually brought on an attorney that's focused on this space because this is getting, it's very hot in the US, and it sounds like it's really hot in Brazil as well. So depending on the service that's being provided or planning to be provided, the regulatory structure can shift significantly, like you had mentioned, and like we talked about yesterday. Depending on the state and depending on the service, you may need to partner or work with a local casino that has a license in that jurisdiction. So I'm writing down here webinars we need to do, iGaming, betting, prediction markets, and then payments, crypto, licensing. So,
Yes, because these type of like operations and markets, they need also the payments methods. So
yes,
it's one related to another, and like this is our type of business. And you see like the flow of like the opportunities, and we are gonna digging in to providing and to bring like solutions for our clients.
I love it.
So you already have like the payment solutions, but now we need to, because even for the payment method that will provide the services for like a sweepstakes or casino provider, they need to understand how they will treat like their client, how will be like the compliance. They need to fulfill all the requirements in federal and like in state license. Depends how was the control about this payment method also, like it's IP whitelist. We need to there is a lot of things there to discuss and to bring like to clarify, even like for the people here and then even for me, because I want to know more about how things works there.
Yep, 100%. I love that, and I think we'll dive into that on a second webinar because, like you said, these two spaces they intersect, they correlate, and a friend of mine says one hand washes the other. These are connected spaces. So, but you brought up something earlier which also ties to both of these spaces, and obviously the webinar. When you're entering a new jurisdiction and you're trying to find, hey, what partners should I work with? How important is that for you? You know, I can say from our perspective, when we're working with, you know, a client and they say, for example, hey, we want to expand into Brazil. You know, do you know someone there who can help us, right? Finding someone like yourself, Rubio, that understands the law, has the connections, not just for law, right? But also for a CPA, a financial institution, all these other service providers that the client is going to need. So if that all can come from a trusted partner like you, client feels good, I feel good, you know, everyone feels good in that relationship. So yeah, if you have any comments on that, you know, would love to hear your thoughts.
This is like for me is the networking, Joshua, and we can do that like uh, smoothly and like fast. These are like constructing year by year, like day by day, in all type of industries, and this type of relationship getting style, like the partnerships, and this can facilitate anyone to enter in each type of market. It doesn't matter what type of regulation and like jurisdiction. If you are coming in, if you have like a good partner, a good people that, because when you like getting older and you increase your business and everything, in a time you're gonna choose with who you want to deal with. Like, doesn't matter if it's a partner or a client, it's your networking. It's good to know that, because this can like giving our more like relationship. Sometimes it's good also to to receive people inside my house. To it's more than welcome to travel like together, and those type of people and those type of clients that I have, I'm more glad and more confident, and I prefer to deal with because everything goes smoothly. You already know how the things are going with me. If I can support you, and if I cannot support you, I will be like honest because honestly, we need to be transparent for yourself also. Like this is my limits. I cannot support you on that, but I know someone how to do it. And for me, this brings another really trick thing about humans, ego. And
Mm.
sometimes people want to embrace and to cover all the areas, and it's definitely no.
Yeah.
It's human not possible because like I'm a human and I have limitations. I cannot cover everything. Like this is like the big thing for me. And when I trying to say also about my clients that they are like expanding for internationally and abroad, sometimes you need to have like local presence. You need to have like a partner that will represent your business, will be like also the face of your business, to sign for your business, to suffer any type of government like issues. They will be the face of your company. So if you don't have trust, if you don't know the people, and to starting like a business and a partnership from scratch, it's difficult. And when I say about like regulated market, this means a lot. Means like to networking, to know people, to trusting people that can deliver the services that they promise you, or the service that you need to fulfill your requirements. And like will be like thousands of requirements because for you to have to come to Brazil, you need like local presence. You need to have like someone here. You need to trust these people. If you're not trusting, how it's possible for you to withdraw the money from Brazil? And they need to know how we draw money from Brazil.
Yes.
So the other thing for us, like I'm putting here, like the tax reform here also in Brazil, we can do another
I'm writing it down as well.
because this is changing a lot and changing also the relationship with America and United States, that you're now like putting more rates and getting the imported stuff from Brazil. This is another type of webinar that we can
Right.
discuss because I don't know what your government are trying to do to save, to protect the market and everything. So how these type of things that changes and impact our client, we can improve because all type of changes will release new opportunities, and we need to know, to be ready to understand the new regulations, the law, to find shortcuts for our clients to try to fulfill and to save their money. So there is a lot of tricky ways during like to expand into regulated market and to have like compliance and people that you can trust and you can move forward. Um, I guess I extend myself, but let's go. Do you have another call for us? Like another?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. Just to comment on what you said, especially when we're in regulated industries, it makes the partner that you're working with in that new foreign jurisdiction so much more important because we're not just talking about, losing business value, losing customers, losing money. We could be talking about going to jail, right? Getting an enforcement action, things that not just impact your wallet, but can impact your life and the lives of your employees. So
Your
I couldn't agree
freedom.
more. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, we know many cases here in the US where people have gone to jail for breaking the rules, So it's a very real thing. And I know that likely happens in Brazil as well. So finding partners who understand the law, understand the local market, you can trust. they pick up the phone when you call. That's something I try to do all the time. If a client calls me, I answer the phone. If a partner calls me, Rubio, you called me, I answer the phone. I think it's so important, especially when you're building that relationship with the person. And then also when something difficult is happening, like there's an enforcement action, the government said something, there's uncertainty, right? Those are the times when you have to pick up the phone and handle it. And I know that both you and I do that. So yeah, just wanted to make that comment.
Another comment that you like, we need to teach our clients limits because we are handled like with money and things that sometimes like it's getting so crazy and people doesn't know the limit, what it's allowed, what it's not allowed. How can I go in such a way, like there is limits and we need to put limits and teach their clients to not trespassing. I guess this is also so difficult because people and most of people that we are handle on daily basis previously, so before like we starting this webinar, we are talking about clients, about people that earn a thousand, a bunch of money, and we need to understand that unfortunately there is limits, there is limitations, and you need to fulfill some requirements, and you need to follow the rule, because if it's not, how it's possible? We are handle like really, 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 really right risk business and even regulated markets. And we need to know the limits. That it's another thing that it's really important to know and to show our clients the limits, like the conditions, and they need to understand. And if they want to risk themselves, they will be know about everything about the law. So there is another
Yes,
really important stuff because if you're, we can making even do like a comparison. What is a crime here in Brazil could be not a crime in the United States, and then in Europe and
exactly.
another, it's totally different.
Yep. Especially in the spaces we work in, right? In highly regulated. The thresholds or the limits here in the US can be completely different than they are in Brazil or Poland, Asia, what have you. So that's a very key point and distinction.
Could be
Go
another
ahead. Yeah,
webinar for doing that, like to putting like the limits, what is the limits, what it's allowed to do here, like when we are talking about money laundering, for example, what is the limits here that the law accepts, like in Brazil, Europe, like in the United States, and even for you will be like totally different, like the anti-money laundering policies for state by state or federal instance. So it's another tricky way that and there is a lot of things that it's such important when we are talking about expanding for the business like abroad and to have like good partners and regulated market, like this is tricky, is tricky, but it's good because if there is like opportunity and on the market, I will be there. I will be in that side always, like to trying to find to challenge myself. And I guess you are like more or less in the same way.
same. Same. We'd be in the same boat, my friend. And one last note on that. So the limits, yes, 100%. And then even a step further, how services are legally defined in this country versus others. I think there's a lot of similarities for sure, but I just had a call with a client this morning, and what they're structuring teeters on the line of is it a sale of something? Is it a potential line of credit? Is it a security? That was my hour and a half brain damage before I got on this call. So understanding the definitions, understanding how, the arguments that can be made for the different services that are planning to be offered, and then what are the limits and the thresholds for each service. I think that summarizes all of what we do pretty much in a nutshell, right?
Totally, totally. And we can understand that. We need to understand that because uh, to enter in another business, we are trying to also doing like M&A. And M&A also we will have like a lot of limits. We need to a bunch of compliance and that kind of stuff, like to enter into digging, and we need to understand and always like to track the money and to find like the best solutions, a way to our clients to invest in things they are willing to do. And this is another trick and limit way to do business, for sure.
I agree 100%. Yeah. And M&A, I mean, we could have a whole conversation just on that. Um, we have clients that are based outside of the US that, remember the 54 licenses I was talking about, that can take 2 years or more, right? Buying a company could take significantly less, but does it have all the licenses that you need? What are the terms? Will it take regulatory approval? If so, how long will that take? There's a lot of considerations that we deal with and work with the clients on a daily basis. So, yeah, go ahead.
No, when you are talking about like M&A on the stock market, this is will be insane. And it's like in my business here now in Brazil, the iGaming industry, it's like getting regulated, and we regulated first the operators. Nowadays all the stakeholders of the industry will need to have a local presence, a physical presence here in Brazil. This is like bringing a lot of opportunity, a lot of like investments, money, and like M&As, because people like want to enter the market, to providing services, to providing games, to provide their technology also here. And it's not an easy stuff like to nationalize, let's say that, those clients. You need to understand each path, like how they are like moving their money to here, because we need to understand also the regulation in the United States. Ah, okay, it's allowed to do that with my money in the United States, but to show that type of money that are earned here in the United States, in Brazil, will be a little bit tricky and different. How did you bring that money to invest here and to have like a base and a company here? This is another good stuff for us to discuss, because regulated the market like have like a fully mandate for each type of business and industry in person. So, and the other thing that I remember to take to say also about like the individual tax
Mm.
for each one. I don't know if you're having like private clients, for example, because this is also tricky for me, because I'm taking care 360-degree for my clients, and sometimes they are also asking me, okay, Rubio, it's nice, I'm Brazilian, but I want to save my money. I don't want to pay a lot of tax that are the Brazilian government are increasing, helping me to go abroad and to change my tax residence and everything. So it would be a totally different stuff, because those clients, they have like a regulated market like internationally. How are we supposed to do that? Like,
That's taking it a step further. I love that. Yeah, I mean, we're a corporate law firm, but for some of our clients that have requested it, we've looked at immigration matters for that. We have several immigration attorneys at the firm, and we help companies get individuals visas here in the US and citizenship if needed. But what you're talking about takes it even a step further, right? We've done this for a couple clients. It's not a core competency of the firm, but it's something we potentially should do more of. So, Julio, we have to talk more about how you structure that, what jurisdictions you look at, because that's a whole topic in and of
it's
itself.
a
So,
it's totally different. We can say it depends of each jurisdiction. Like in Brazil, for you to have like a tax residence here, if I moving abroad, but if I stay here like 185 years days per year, I'm already like a tax residence here, so I will pay both. So I guess we are going into QA right now, Joshua. Sorry, like we are extending ourselves. Like there is plenty of of topics for us to discuss and to move forward.
Of course, man. Rubio, I had a great time. Thank you very much. Let's see what questions we have here. I'll read the first one off. My sector is commercial real estate tokenization. My question is, as it relates to cross-border payment settlements, do you have knowledge of any workarounds with oil converts to crypto stablecoins? We've done a colossal amount of work on cross-border payments with stablecoins. So the answer to that is yes. Your question about with oil converts to crypto stablecoins, I think we'd need to have a conversation offline so I could understand more about specifically what question you're asking here. Rafael, let's please get more information from the person who wrote this question, and then we will address that
Because it's
then.
tricky. There is a thousand of like opportunities how to do that. Like try to
Exactly.
schedule like a call with properly understand and support them.
Of course. Of course. Moving on to the next question. First of all, thanks for the webinar. No, thank you for joining the webinar. What's the limit for a company based in one state to service customers in other US states? This is a great question. The answer to this question depends on the services that are being provided. So, for example, let's say we're talking about a company like Coinbase. Let's say Coinbase has a marketplace for crypto trading. They have buyers of crypto and they have sellers of crypto, right? Um, let's make it even simpler, right? Coinbase is headquartered in, I can't remember where they are, but let's say Delaware, for example. They may need a license in Delaware because they're operating or headquartered in Delaware. They also definitely need a license where their customers are located. So let's say they have a customer in Wisconsin that's buying crypto or selling crypto directly to Coinbase. They need a license in Wisconsin. Now, let's say they have a client in Wisconsin that's buying or selling crypto from another individual based in Maryland. Where would they need licenses? Our understanding, and this isn't legal advice, we're just speaking generally, would be to look at where activity is occurring. So they're headquartered and operating out of Delaware, potentially need a license there. They're buying and selling crypto to a person in Wisconsin, potentially need a license there. And they have another person buying or selling crypto in Maryland. They may need a license there. So that was a long way of answering your question, Julio. I think that was focused on US, so I took that one.
No
Um,
worries. Go for it. Because also I really want to know because here in Brazil we have like jurisprudence. So sometimes if you have like a license in three states, it will be like just one will be enough, for example. But in your case, no, you need to fulfill all the requirements in three states, right?
But potentially, yes, depending on the services that are being provided. So, for example, in one state, a license may not be required for XYZ service, but in another, it does for the same exact service, right? So, one of the things that we do for clients is we do what we call 50 state memorandum, where we analyze their services and flow of funds through each state's money transmission act. And it ends up being 100+ pages of legal analysis. But the real juice of this memo is a small diagram at the top of the document that says a list of states where a license is likely required, a list of states where you may require a license, and a list of states where you likely do not require a license. And the analysis and reasoning for that is down, in those 100+ pages. But that's something that we recommend. Like, for example, Rubio, if you had a client that wanted to expand into the US, the first thing we would ask them is, hey, what services are you providing and where are you planning to provide them? And if their answer is all 50 states, then we recommend doing this 50 state memorandum. If it's three states, then we recommend looking at just those three states. But doing that piece of analysis could potentially save the company hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So, sorry, that's a long way of answering that question, but um, yeah,
No worries,
let's
because people want to know, and also me, so it's good.
we'll try to move on here. So, how early in the expansion process should legal and compliance be brought in before or after the business side has already committed to a market? Rubio, maybe you could take a stab at that, and then I can jump
No,
in.
first of all, we need to have like someone that taking care about the compliance stuff. And in that perspective, you can say like the compliance officer, for example, to taking care about all your documents, all the fulfillments, and to be like in contact will be like the legal affairs, for example, for the government to provide and to keep all everything like up to date. I guess this is like the mandatory solutions for regulated markets to have like someone in-house, like a compliance officer. And I can also say like a DPO if you're really willing, because you can combine both of them uh, person to provide and to support you and to be like this bridge between your company and the government to fulfill the requirements.
Fantastic. And so it sounds, oh, here we go. Another question. This is the last question here. What's a realistic timeline for entering a new regulated market from initial planning to actually operating? I'll let you take this one as well.
Depends of the industry and the market. Let's say that like if you're willing to go to the payment methods. So in the United States, you have like 54. Here in Brazil, we will have like just one, and we can depend if you're willing to have to enter here and to have like an M&A and to buy and to go easier will be 6 months, or could be more than that. So in the United States, like it will be faster, I guess, Joshua. Am I right?
Definitely not. Yeah,
Uh,
but I agree with you 100%. You're spot on. It depends on the market. It depends on where you're going. And, you need to find the right partners to help you make informed decisions, on whether or not you should enter a market and how. So, Rubio, I think we're at the end of the webinar. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for joining me and doing this webinar with me. Folks, if you'd like to get in contact with Rubio or myself, of course, if you could see our page here, take a screenshot or use the QR code. You'll get our website and our email addresses, and Rubio and myself will get in contact with you right away. Rubio, thank you so much, my friend.
Joshua, thank you so much once again. Thank you for your team that's supporting us on doing this webinar. Let's keep in touch, my friend. Have a lovely day. It was like an amazing discussion here, and I'm more than welcome to do that often with you. Okay?
Same. Thank you, Rubio. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a wonderful day.
Bye bye.